scholar. Look like a martyr to marauders, life harder. Wise owl slaughter, whack MCs oughta applaud her. Original woman, decipher the womb. Crown of creation, fruit of the planet, earth and the moon.
Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of Wise the Dome TV. Today I have a very, very special guest. You probably know him from his YouTube channel. If you don't, you definitely need to go ahead and subscribe to that, Black Red Guard. But he's a great thinker, man, a great political analysis. And we're going to get into some of that now. Black Red Guard, man, I appreciate you for coming through.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
No problem, man. Before we even go get into the heavy stuff, for those that might not know what the name means, Black Red Guard, if you can break that down.
Oh, I'm black. I'm African descent in the United States,
Yeah.
and the Red Guards were actually the militant youth that were mobilized by the Communist Party of China to basically like overthrow all of the Malcolm would call them Uncle Toms.
Right.
Basically overthrow all the people who wanted to bring China back to what it was before and put it back up under the imperialism.
Indeed.
So basically, when you think Red Guard, you think rebel people
Right.
who ain't with Uncle Tom shit, people who want to continue the communist project and fix it so that we have peace and plenty in our lifetime.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so let's start off. If you can, could you provide a brief overview of the historical context between the solidarity between Black and Palestinian communities?
Sure. Well, as I'm pretty sure you know, Black people were actually the first Muslims in the United States. When they took us from Africa, many of us had already been Muslims for centuries. I mean, Islam came along with the various trade goods that went back and forth along the trade routes in the Sahel. So there are several accounts of black Africans in the United States who were Muslims. So Islam is part of our heritage in the United States.
Absolutely.
And even just breaking away from the whole religious aspect, we're people that have been fucked over in this country. Like we built this country, and yet we haven't received any of the fruits of it. White people, Malcolm taught us, were able to come over here and immediately receive benefits that we couldn't get. Our people fought in World War II to liberate oppressed people in Europe. Meantime, we couldn't vote, and you had our soldiers that were coming back over here getting lynched while still wearing their uniform.
Yep.
So part of the reason why I'm a communist is because America has to pay for that stuff. Like we can't just let them walk with that. Like people ask, okay, you're a black nationalist, you're a Pan-Africanist, you're all this, you're all that. Why don't you just go back to Africa? Because y'all still have our shit.
Right.
Like
right.
y'all didn't just take us from Africa. Y'all fucked our continent up too, so that our brothers or sisters over there can't realize any peace.
Right.
And they're doing the exact same thing to our Palestinian comrades in arms, our Palestinian brothers and sisters, that they're doing to us. That's why I look sideways at these ADOS, at these FBA type people that are, oh, that ain't our struggle. Yes, it is. But the same people who are funding Hot City in Atlanta, the same people who are working to unroll new methods to fuck us up here in the United States, they're experimenting on the Palestinian people. The cops in the United States go over and learn from the cops in Israel and vice versa. You've got Israeli cops and Israeli soldiers coming over here practicing on black people.
Yep.
So it's just a basic political instinct that if you and another group of people have a common enemy, you should form and make common cause with those people who are being oppressed by that same enemy and help get them off both of your backs. So the reason why a lot of black people in the United States have contradictions with Palestinians or Arabs in general is because we see like they serve a sort of petty bourgeois role in our communities. We go to the gas station, we go to the corner store, we see a lot of Arabs that own these things. And people even think that, oh, they get free money when they come over here and they buy up all the stores in our hood. And you have to keep it that's a petty bourgeois, that's a ruling class mindset. Like you basically want to run all the Arabs out the grocery stores and out the gas stations so that you can buy them up and so that you can launder your drug money. And that's essentially what you wanted. And like that's not how solidarity is built.
Hmm.
And I've talked with many Palestinian, many Arab comrades who realize the fucked up role that a lot of their people, a lot of the richer of the people, it's like you're not having like these aren't refugees from Ramallah, these aren't refugees from Gaza. These are people who had money over there where they come from. These are
Right.
people who had money in the Middle East.
Right.
These are your sellouts and your compradors who flee over here to the United States with the money that they were able to embezzle or steal or come up on one type of way or another. In many cases, they got this stuff through collaborating with the Israeli government. Um, and so we have to divide one into two, as Mao would say.
Mm.
So when you divide one into two, yes, you do have petty bourgeois Arabs, just like you have petty bourgeois black people. We have black people who have served in the United States military, who
Right.
got material benefit from sucking up our Arab brothers and sisters.
Right.
So we can't like base our opinion of a community on the behavior of people who in many cases don't even care about their own people. Like you look at all of these billionaire rappers, like these people don't give a shit about us.
No,
They
nah,
don't give a shit about us.
absolutely not. Right.
So we can't like it would be wrong for our Arab comrades to base their position on black people uh regarding like shit that Beyonce or any of these other people say and do. Just like you had Usher that was performing at the Super Bowl while the massacre was taking place. Like, if Arabs thought like some of these ignorant black people, they'd be like, oh yeah, you know what? Fuck y'all. All y'all do is caper and clown for the white man.
Mm. Mm.
So we have to work with the working class, revolutionary, radical elements of our Palestinian comrades, of our Arab comrades. Just like they have to work with people like us, the younger, more working class, radicalized elements of the black population, and that's how we're going to turn America upside down.
Indeed. You know what trips me out too is you see it online a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where this whole narrative with these Zionists are pushing, where I'm so disappointed in the black community because they seem to be siding with Palestine, and we helped you guys through the civil rights movement and all of this thing, right? Have you seen that?
I have like, first of all, solidarity is not transactional.
Mm.
Solidarity is not transactional. Yes, there were many Jews who participated in the civil rights movement. As a matter of fact, if you run across an older person that participated in the civil rights movement, 9 out of 10, they're probably going to be Jewish.
Mm.
But the thing is, many of those people, many of those Jewish comrades who participated in the civil rights movement are also anti-Zionist.
Right, right,
Like,
right, right.
I don't think brothers Goodman and Schwerner would be very proud of the behavior of the state of Israel. A lot of these people rejected the
Mm.
state of Israel because of the fact that it just had displaced an entire whole ass other group of people. And then like it's you you're basically viewing black people as objects. Like,
Mm.
okay, we did this for you, now you must do this for us. No, I don't give a fuck what you did to me. I don't give a fuck if you gave me $15 million. I'm not going to aid and abet you in doing wrong.
Right, right, right.
Like my grandma used to tell me, like, I don't give a fuck what you do. I don't care what you do. But if you're doing wrong, it doesn't matter if you're kin to me or not. I'm still going to criticize you. I'm still going to denounce you for that. Of course, my grandma would not use the word denounce. But like,
Absolutely.
I ain't gonna let you ride with no bullshit just because you kin to me. Like, I
Right.
don't give a fuck what you did for us in the past. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And killing babies in their beds, old women, pregnant women, elders, like that's wrong. It was wrong when Hitler was doing it during the Holocaust. It was wrong when Idi Amin was doing it to people in Uganda. It was wrong when they were doing it to us in the United States. It's wrong when you're doing it in Palestine. Like
Mm.
murdering people after you've tried to steal all of their land, not some of it. You
Right,
weren't satisfied with the land that the UN gave you. You wanted to have all of these people shit.
right,
Like
right,
where the fuck are they supposed to live?
right.
The thing is, like this is not an Arab Jew thing. Like people keep trying to characterize it. This is not an Arab Jew thing. Okay, this is a settler colonial thing.
Absolutely.
Settlers are never satisfied with a little piece of the land.
Hmm.
Obviously, they aren't entitled to any of the land,
Right,
but they're never going to be satisfied. Just like in the United States, first you had the Americans that were huddled up around Jamestown and Boston and Plymouth and all these other places. Eventually, they ended up all the way out in California. They left all the way out of California. They thought that it was their God-given destiny to claim all of this land. Just
Right.
like the Zionists in Israel think that it's their God-given destiny to not just claim all of the historical Palestine. If you look at maps of Greater Israel, they think that they're entitled to Sinai. They think they're entitled to Syria. They think that they're entitled to pretty much the whole fucking Middle East,
Right.
Lebanon. Like there's
Hmm.
still people in Lebanon. Israel is not at war with Lebanon, but they're shelling and sending soldiers up there. But no, because these people are doom driven.
Mm.
That's what they are. They're doom driven. They see themselves as fated to conquer the entire Middle East.
Right.
And you cannot, like, this is the 21st century. This is the year 2024. We cannot have people carrying out multiple genocides because of shit that you think happened 2,000, 3,000 years ago. That's unconscionable and intolerable.
Absolutely. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, even though it was just a proposal, Theodore Herzl, the father of Zionism, proposed that the Jewish homeland would be in East Africa, even
Mm-hmm.
Uganda, you know,
Yeah,
and so,
Hitler wanted to send them to Madagascar.
mm,
Yeah, he
mm,
wanted to establish what's basically a zoo for Jewish people in Madagascar.
wow.
But yeah, and the British actually took this proposal seriously because at the time Uganda was governed by the British. It was a British colony.
Right.
Yeah, they looked at several parts of the world, Uganda, East Africa being a major part of it. So, in an alternate universe, we would have had black people fighting Zion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to keep that in mind. And even Sheikh Anta Diop talked about how even where Israel is positioned geography wise, that it's a strategic position for Western imperialists to invade Africa as well. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of, you know, so whenever we think about this idea that it has nothing to do with us, it's really silly and ahistorical. For one, we can, you know, everybody from Malcolm, the Panthers, SNCC, they all wrote about this. You know, Huey even went out to Palestine and trained with you know, soldiers out there. You know, because like the idea of Western imperialism and its connectedness and the international aspect of the oppression that people face all over the world, especially in the global south, like we have to understand that this is all connected. These liberation movements and these liberation fights are not done in a vacuum. Like even when we had the civil rights movement here in America, oftentimes we were going back to West Africa during their African liberation movements. You know, Dr. King meeting up with Kwame Nkrumah and Malcolm in '64, going to Africa, talking to, you know, many world leaders. Like this idea that ADOS and FBA like to kick, where as if, you know, everybody hold your own nuts type of thing. Like that's individuals don't be institutions. You know, it's so irritating to hear like people run with this, but I also understand that most of them are not really politically educated and they easily led in the wrong direction, you know.
Yeah, they're not politically educated. They don't want any political education. They think that communism is a white man's thing. They
Mm-hmm.
think that Palestinian solidarity is a white man's thing. And they basically, I mean, in a way, like I see as a Maoist, I try to like get to the root of everything because that's essentially what Assad said that being a radical is. Being a radical means to get to the root of things.
Mm.
So, what are the roots of groups like ADOS and FBA? Well, first you have to consider, like, you have to go all the way back to Nixon. Nixon saw the Black Power movement as a threat, but he also knew that during the J. Edgar Hoover thing, like basically just going around killing people, I mean, he would still do that too.
Right.
But he also knew that that was making martyrs within the Black community, and it was sort of building up the position of Black revolutionaries in the minds of the masses.
Mm.
So he saw Black power as something that could be co-opted. So he was like, "You guys want to be powerful? Okay, you guys don't have to be anti-capitalist. I understand that capitalism hasn't worked for you all in the past. I mean, in the past, you guys were capital.
Right.
So how about this? We're gonna cut you a deal. We're gonna lose all this SBA, the Small Business Administration. We're gonna lose all this funding. We're gonna throw some money on y'all. We're gonna throw some money at y'all. So Whitney Young, the NAACP, the Urban League, all these people, Roy Wilkins and them, all these folks, they bought that shit hook, line, and sinker because all these people wanted to do was get rich anyway.
Yep.
And did they despise black people? No. But they realized they had a different position of what black power meant. They thought that black power meant basically, okay, we get a piece of the American pie. They didn't want to destroy America. They didn't want to burn America down to the ground. They realized that, okay, you know what? They brought us over here. We were slaves. That's dead, done. That's a done data. So we might as well. We see the foreigners coming over here. We see the Mexicans. We see we see LULAC, the League of Latin American Citizens or some shit. Basically, a really, really conservative Latino.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so we see all these people coming over here. They got their restaurants, they got gas stations, car wash. They moving out here with the white man. Meantime, we still trapped in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
So what a lot of these more conservative black figures did was, you know what? They breaking the Mexicans off, they're breaking the Asians off, they broke the Japanese off for the internment shit. You know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Because this tear down America shit, all that's going to end up with happening is you're going to end up like Fred Hampton. That's how these people thought. So if Nixon want to cut us a check like he's done all the other minorities, you know what? Fuck it, let's take it.
Right.
But you also had comrades who were principled, people who remained black revolutionary nationalists, people who didn't want any part of the white man's bribes, and they were like, you know what? Fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
Black power means black power. Black power means free the land.
Right.
Black power means free all political prisoners. Black power means abide by the 10-point program of the Black Panther Party. So there was a two-line struggle within the black community in the early 70s. And one thing that Nixon and the U.S. government in general is good at doing is taking advantage of issues and contradictions within colonized communities and setting us against each other.
Right.
That's what FBA and ADOS are doing, or trying to do, between black people and Latinos and black people and Arabs, especially Palestinians. And the Zionists are doing hand in hand with them on this. Because the only thing that Zionists care about is the continued existence of Israel. They don't care what happens to the United States.
Right.
Actually, they do, because without the United States, they know that they would have been overrun and swamped just by numbers alone.
Mm-hmm.
So you have it's this weird, they're in bed with all types of people. They're in bed with the FBA, they're in bed with ADOS, they're in bed with the United States government, and all of these people are trying to wreak havoc and break apart the hard-won solidarity between black and Arab communities and black and Latino communities. Of course, Latino and Arab communities are not 100% not to blame, because these communities also have substantial anti-blackness as well.
Mm-hmm.
But revolutionary elements, radical progressive elements within these communities recognize that and are actually working on their elders, are working on their less politically educated cousins to struggle against this anti-blackness. And I commend them greatly for that.
Absolutely.
Because that's how you build an actual movement that can topple this empire, which is the goal of every revolutionary progressive person. We don't want bribes.
Right.
We want satisfaction. We want revenge for the crimes that this country has committed against our ancestors.
Indeed. And so how do you historical justices such as and present day, but such as colonialism and systemic racism, in your opinion, intersect in the narratives of Black and Palestinian liberation movements? Because again, a lot of times people like to see all of these things happening in a vacuum, and with there being no connection to the actual struggles between both people.
Nothing ever happens in a vacuum. That's anti-dialectical. It's a dialectical materialist. Our great teachers, Mao especially, taught us that everything is connected. So it's a rightist political strategy, and it's a losing political strategy to just try to sever yourself. Okay, that's their thing over there. This our shit over here. Never the two shall meet. That's wrong. That's bad politics, for one, because we only comprise 13% of the country.
Right.
So we kind of need allies. I mean, we can definitely make a mess, We could definitely make a mess. We could definitely fuck some shit up. We've proven our capacity to fuck some shit up several times over the past 40 years.
Right.
But simply fucking shit up is not a revolution. To thoroughly topple this arrangement that penalizes and criminalizes and fucks over several different groups of people, those several different groups of people, we have to form alliances. We have to link up with one another. This doesn't mean that they have to be unprincipled alliances.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, we share the same enemy. No. Like, there's still going to be political education that needs to be done. Like, a lot of black people generally do not know what Palestinians have been through.
Right.
A lot of Palestinians generally do not know what black people have been through in this country. Like, I've seen on the internet, like people who live in the region over there, they're like, oh, why are blacks complaining so much? Like, we're getting bombed every fucking day. You guys are over there. You're basketball players, football players, rappers, rich. Like, that's what a lot of people that don't live in the United States, they think that we're all fucking rappers or basketball players or football players. They think we're all rich over here. I mean, we are still the richest. We are still the richest black people on the face of the earth. But honestly, that don't mean much.
Right.
What's the point of having a Bugatti if you can still be pulled over, mistaken for a dope dealer, and have your fucking brains blown out of your head?
Right.
Like, it's really not worth it.
Right.
And so, like, being a black leftist that engages with a lot of these communities who don't know the full extent of the bullshit that we face here in the United States as black people, like, that's been my main thing. Like, being like, hey, just because we live in the richest country in the world, and don't get me wrong, yes, we do still have a lot of benefits that are above and beyond what we would be getting if we lived in, say, Nigeria or Ethiopia. Mm. But at the same time, we are an eternal colony of the United States. So just because a little shit trickles down to us, and we have to realize that, yes, we are very privileged and we are very blessed to be over here.
Right.
But at the same time, that's not a privilege and a blessing that we want. Because if we embrace U.S. imperialism, if we embrace the fact that, yeah, you know what, we're the big dogs on the planet now. We can fuck over whoever we want to. Like, once you embrace that, then when the butcher comes calling and the butcher's bill is due, you're gonna have to pay too. Because you didn't stand with the rest of the world people. You didn't stand with the people who are going through pretty much the same shit that you are. You chose to side with the white man.
Right.
You chose to clutch at a straw on a sinking boat, and now you're drowned just like he is. So in a way, it's a self-preservation thing, because we know that the third world is going to win. We know that the rest of the world is not going to continue to allow American imperialism to eat up its wealth and kill its children.
Right. Right.
Like imagine a socialist Saudi Arabia. You think gas is still going to be cheap? No. You're going to pay what you weigh.
Right.
Same thing. Congo goes socialist. You think that these cell phones are going to be cheap? No. You're going to pay what you weigh. That's what socialism means. Pay what you weigh. So if Africa unites and all of these resources that go into these computers in these phones and things, all this oil, all this platinum, all this gold, all this coltan, all this shit, no, it's not going to be. Multinational corporations are not going to be able to keep exploiting people. They got 5-year-old fucking kids over there in mines over there poisoning themselves.
Yeah,
drinking red water and shit. Like, that shit is poisonous. That shit is toxic. FD Signifier did a video on it a couple months ago, I think. But like, that's not going to be allowed to go on any longer.
Right.
Like, Africa will eventually unite. Africa will eventually be socialist, and a socialist Africa will be a superpower. Like, just look at Africa. Okay, you got the Congo River. Once you dam that, you've powered the entire continent. There are still mineral resources deep in the Congolese jungle that haven't been tapped yet. That's why China, Japan, all these other countries, that's why they all want a piece of Africa.
Right.
Like, Africa is being sliced up again. You got the EFF. They're holding an election in South Africa today. You got the EFF. What is the EFF about? Economic freedom fighters. It means we want our land. We want our resources. They're going to be going to the masses of the people. They're not going to be allowed to be eaten up by the Boers and European and Chinese and American capital.
Right. And, you know, like you mentioned, the fact that we are an internal colony. And I think that's obviously one of the connections between our struggle and theirs. And many who aren't politically educated here may not understand the idea of internal colonialism and the fact that we are, as a people, a colony within a nation within a nation, an internalized colony of of America. And whenever we understand that we are also a colonized people, I think that, because in a lot of cases, everyone knows, okay, black people in America, I mean, as far as in the black community, are oppressed. We go through this, we go through that. But to frame it properly as being a colony of an internal colony in America, I think that would lead to a more understanding of why solidarity is important with with all oppressed people. It's kind of like when Kwame Ture in Black Power talked about the differences between individual racism and institutional racism. We can all point out individual racism, but whenever we begin to start diagnosing and critiquing and analyzing these institutions, that's when we're cooking with grease. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't care what you call me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't hurt my feelings. You call me the N-word all you want. It don't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? But we're worried about institutional change. We're trying, like you said, we want to topple the system that has been killing us since they brought us over here. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you, when it comes to not just in the black community, like I can't remember, I believe it was Mexico today said that or yesterday said that they were uh, 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 going to I guess with the ICJ in South Africa, they were going to throw their hat in the ring and say that Israel, should be well.
And Mexican students have also basically stormed the Israeli embassy in Brazil. Yeah, the Latin America has taken a lot of W's. Like they've in Brazil, Lula, who definitely deserves criticism for continuing to participate in the UN-backed fuckery in Haiti, but they withdrew their ambassador from Israel, if I recall correctly.
Yep, you're right. I saw that article as well, and also, I had interviewed Alberto Medina, who is he's a Puerto Rican who writes about Puerto Rican independence, and he talked about I guess at the university, the biggest university there, they had the same type of solidarity encampments that, we had here. And so whenever we begin to look at the world and how the world is viewing Israel and how the world is viewing America's support of Israel, how is how is the world looking at this? Because, a lot of people may only get their news from mainstream media, and it's always framed as if America is this progressive nation that is, leading the world in its humanitarian efforts, when the rest of the world is like, nah, like these are some devils over here. Like, but what is your thoughts on that?
And the thing is, like, actually, like a lot of Americans are starting to disabuse themselves of that notion. Like, I mean, like black people, like we never really like
we never really had that.
We never really believed that in the first place.
Yeah.
But like, but when you look at a lot of the white youth, they're starting to. I mean, I'm not saying that like the fate of the world revolves around the whim of white Zoomers or anything, but I actually did see some idiot on Twitter who's I'm a member of DSA, so yeah. I deal with all types of weird ass people. But he literally said that Palestine will be free when the average American recognizes Israel as an apartheid state. I'm like, well, so basically you're saying that, you know what? I don't know what the fuck you're saying. I honestly don't care. But like, he's basically saying that we basically have to wait for white people to recognize the humanity of Palestinians. And I'm like, but what is wrong? This is why
still centering whiteness. Still centering whiteness.
This is why people think that DSA is a fucking joke. And I keep saying the main issue that DSA has is that it has too many stupid ass white people in it. It's kind of like SDS back in the day.
Mm.
But segueing back to the point that you were talking about, like a lot of people, like we grew up watching the Iraq War on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I remember asking my stepdad, like, why are we over there?
Mm.
Like, why are we over there? Like, even at like 7, 8 years old, like I was oh, 9 years old. Like, I knew that okay, you can't just bomb somewhere just because their leader says bad things.
Right.
And I was raised on Malcolm X, that Spike Lee movie. I think I played that disc till it broke.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like my mom was like, Chris, you don't get in trouble at school. Watch something else. but so I already had like a sort of proto political consciousness. No, I did not slide out of my mother's womb a Marxist Leninist Maoist because we're all the products of our condition. But
Right.
like, I never really had that delusion that this was some type of uh, shining city on a hill, like that Devil Reagan said.
Right.
I kind of always knew that America was full of shit,
Same
and I
here.
think that, a lot of white youth are coming to that realization. Like I think it starts with a lot of these kids asking, like, why do black people not like us?
Right.
Like, why do Arabs not like us? Like, because these kids have the internet. They go on the internet and they see the people in Tehran burning American flags. They see the people in Afghanistan shouting "Death to America," and here they are. Their parents brainwashed them and told them that this is the best country on the face of the earth. And any thinking white kids, like before, a lot of these kids are just like, this is what my mom taught me. This is what I was taught growing up. But now, a lot of these kids, especially when they get around college time, when they start going off to college and they start running into people who are Palestinian,
Mm.
they start running into people who come from Latin America. And these kids are their friends now.
Right.
And they ask, hey, like, why do you guys hate us? And you got the Mexican kid. He's like, okay, because you guys stole a shitload of our land, and then you didn't just settle at that. You kept meddling in our government. You buy all these drugs. The cartels run our fucking country because your country is basically addicted to drugs. And then you brought in NAFTA in
Mm.
'94 that basically ruined the lives of a lot of our farmers. You talk to Puerto Rican kid. Puerto Rican kid tells you basically destroyed our nationalist movement and you tortured our national hero, Don Pedro Albizu Campos, to death with radiation.
Mm.
You maintained us as a colony, and then even now, like we basically have to go through New York to get anything from you guys. We
Right.
don't be part of the United States anymore. You talk to a Hawaiian kid
Right.
who,
Right.
like, you basically overthrew our queen, you overthrew our government, and you turned us into a fucking giant sugar plantation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you meet different types of people in college. And America is an increasingly diverse country. You meet different types of people in public school, in college, in the course of being a young person in America, and you start to get a broader international perspective
Mm.
of all of the full bullshit that this country has done. And Malcolm predicted this.
Mm.
Like, Malcolm predicted that the youth, the kids of these people who are doing all this shit, sticking dogs on us, spraying us with water hose, and killing our leaders and stuff, they're eventually going to start questioning this shit.
Yep.
They're going to start questioning this shit, and they're going to be pissed. They're going to be guilty. They're going to be pissed. They're going to be like, these people hate me because of shit that my grandparents did, so let me try to fix it. And that's what's coming to pass, just as Malcolm predicted.
Indeed. Indeed. And so uh let's kind of pivot to this the need for a black radical working class politic. Um, if you can, for those in the audience that might not even know what that is or what that looks like, what is a black radical working class politic?
Let's see, the thing with black ideology, black revolutionary ideology, as it was formed, and we have to like broaden our horizons past the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Black diet, like when I talk about black ideology, I'm talking about Marcus Garvey. I'm talking about Kwame Nkrumah. I'm talking about um, Julius Nyerere in Tanzania, who's probably the most Maoist of the African liberation. I'm talking about Amilcar Cabral.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what we do wrong is we just pigeonhole ourselves into viewing Black people in the United States as the only people that we can draw from. Like we have to draw on the tradition of the whole diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talk about the Black radical tradition, I'm talking about all of these theoreticians who, through their experience of direct colonialism, in the case of Caribbean and Africa and Latin America, because there are Black people in Latin America too,
Absolutely.
and then through the experience of slavery and being an eternal colony, which is what we in the United States say. So we don't fit into like we've had Black revolutionary anarchists, had Black revolutionary communists. So we can't just box ourselves into one tradition and be like, oh, we are unequivocally communist. We are unequivocally anarchist. Because if we say that we're unequivocally communist, then that's an insult to Black revolutionary theoreticians such as Ashanti Alston and Lorenza Combois Irvin and Oluwasi Balagun, all three of whom were anarchists, who were rooted in the anarchist tradition. And then when we say that we're unequivocally anarchists, then that's an insult to people like Claudia Jones
Mm-hmm.
and various others. And Marcus Garvey, he didn't identify with either tradition at all, but we would be amiss if we didn't characterize him as part of the tradition as well, because Marcus Garvey organized more people than any Black person before or since.
Right. Right.
So when I talk about the Black revolutionary tradition, I'm talking about anybody who actively struggled with the question of how we get free, how we liberate ourselves from this mess that we found ourselves in. And I center the working class because as a communist, I realized that, okay, the Black bourgeoisie, the Black petty bourgeoisie, they don't have shit to offer for us. What do they have to offer? So as a communist, I realized that it's the proletariat, it's the working class who makes the world run. Without the working class, the petty bourgeoisie, the bourgeoisie, they would have nobody to eat off of.
Right.
Like this, not everybody can be rich. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur because one entrepreneur who's a billionaire, that requires hundreds of thousands of people below him or her or them to exploit.
Right.
So not everybody can be a billionaire. That is a myth. That is a lie. That's a piece of bullshit to get you to work yourself to death for a fraction of what that billionaire has just by virtue of sitting on their ass. So we have to realize that it's the working class who creates all things, and it's the working class who has to be centered in our liberation.
Absolutely. And you know, it's I had having this discussion online a couple of days ago, and I said something similar, and I began because it was to someone from one of those hashtag groups who was politically centering capitalism as how we are going to free ourselves. And so I asked him, I was like, all right, so I had to make sure, you know, I read that right. And I asked him, I said, so you think that black capitalism will liberate us, right? And then he said, yeah, whenever we have full access to capitalism, whatever that means, right? And then I started to ask him about, you know, the exploitation of the working class, the over extraction of the resources in the global South, all of these different types of things I began to ask him about. And I began to, you know, quote some of the people that you named from, you know, Cabral, Ture, and just all of the political analysis that, you know, we have been blessed by the ones that came before us to have. And the thing that he told me is, and I didn't have nothing to say after that. But the thing that he told me is these theories are 50 years old. They're not even relevant anymore. And I hate that idea.
Capitalism is even older than communism. Like you basically trying to run game that's 200 fucking years old. Like you really think that you go overthrow the white man with shit that he invented.
Right.
Like you really think that you go like this man is the master of capitalism.
Right.
Like Elon Musk, all these people, they've made fortunes, like ferocious level fortunes by doing nothing but stealing from people. And you really think that you, with your little bitty ass capital, you're gonna outcompete them. No, what you're gonna do is you're gonna break your neck, or you're gonna end up bankrupt, or you're gonna end up in jail. That's what's gonna happen.
Facts.
They ain't gonna let you. Like they might let one or two, they might select one or two who are politically reliable to them.
Mm-hmm.
to be like, look, you're an example to your people. We're gonna let you do this. We're gonna let you do that. We're gonna make you a CEO of one of our Fortune 500 corporations. But they ain't gonna let all of us do that. That
Right.
ain't gonna work. They ain't gonna do it. No.
Right.
Because they still look at us as dirt. We're still slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So why would they let their slaves become over them?
But
That's not gonna happen.
even with that, like the idea, I can't remember. I looked up the numbers the other day. I believe it was the top 10% in America owns 75% of America's wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Top 10 in the world owns 85% of the world's wealth. Where is this magical wealth going to come from for all oppressed people to liberate themselves through capitalism? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe they don't get all the Mexican cartels and they gonna get all the dope boys together, and I guess they're gonna pool their money and they're gonna buy CNN or some shit. So they gonna have all the Mexican cartels get together and buy Telemundo. And they're
Right.
gonna have all the area boys in Nigeria get together and buy out Royal Dutch Shell. I don't know. That is a source of capital though, like lumpen bourgeoisie.
Mhm.
Like a lot of those big cartel dudes in Mexico, like they are buying like major banks and shit like that. A lot of them have went legit. As a matter of fact, the smart ones have gone legit. It's only the dumb ones that end up getting killed in shootouts and stuff. But like honestly, where I involved in that shit, as soon as I make my first 50 mil, I'm good. I'm going legit.
Oh hell yeah.
A lot of people they get addicted to that lifestyle, and
Mhm.
that's how like those are your like look at fucking El Chapo. Like that dude had a bunch of legitimate holdings, haciendas and oil companies and shit like that. Like when you go into a narco state like Mexico or a state that's basically run by a mafia like Russia or Nigeria or increasingly South Africa, like there is a major interplay between illegal and legal capital.
Oh,
Like you have
absolutely.
to, like the lumpen bourgeoisie is a thing. Like in Russia, the country is basically run by the mafia,
Mm.
and most of these people have connections to the old Soviet nomenclatura, the old Soviet bureaucracy. As soon as the Soviet Union started to fall apart, they basically had a fire sale. They're like, "Okay, comrade, you get this. I
Mm.
take over oil company. You take
Mm.
over telecommunications." Like they basically parceled out the fucking country amongst themselves.
Mm.
So you have former Communist Party officials who are now mafia leaders.
Wow.
And yeah, that's wild. That's fucked up. But yeah, in a way, illicit capital can be transformed into legal capital.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. And so whenever we're talking about the uh, a black working class perspective, can you explain the significance of incorporating a black working class perspective into contemporary political discourse?
Because when you look at contemporary political discourse, like the hashtag crew, the brunch set, the people who the people who think that you're ableist because you tell them that they should be working out and that it's not healthy to be morbidly obese. Like those types of people, when you look at their class background, when you look at their class outlook, it's petty bourgeois, and the petty bourgeois cannot lead us to liberation. So when you center the working class, and I'm not talking about like MAGA communist Eddie Liger, Midwest Marxist type bullshit. Okay, those people are literal fascists.
Right. Right.
And why are they fascists? Because like they basically think that the ideas among the white working class, mind you, they barely mention anything about the black working class.
Hmm.
So they think that the ideas of the white working class are good as they are. As we know, most of these people are more apt to join the Klan than join a communist party. So they are not all right as they are,
Right.
but they think that they are. They're actually trying to impose this shit on the broader communist movement. That's what fascism is. It's class collaboration and it's pandering to the lowest common denominator of reactionary. But when we talk about the average ordinary working class person in the United States, because the average working class person in the United States is not white.
Right.
The average working class person in the United States is Latino or black.
Mm.
So if you're not appealing to those people, this is what I keep trying to tell people in DSA. Like, I would characterize the average class position of the DSA right as being petty bourgeois. These people are political hacks, they're political wonks. They want to canvass and get all these bullshit progressive Congress people and politicians elected so that they can get jobs.
Mm.
They want to be government workers. That's what they
Right.
want to be. So Those are not the people we should be oriented towards. We should not be orienting towards the wannabe liberal technocracy. We should not be orienting towards people who are more likely to join the Klan than join a Communist Party. We should be orienting towards people who may not speak English. We should be orienting towards people who may have criminal records. We should be orienting towards people who work at Dollar Tree and sell weed on the side. Like the working class in the United States cannot just be like folded into a little box. The working class in the United States is an extremely diverse thing. But the most advanced segment of the working class in the United States is not white.
Mm.
So when we talk about who should we orient ourselves toward, whose ideas should we be taking and analyzing and using as material for the mass line, we have to look into the working class of color. And yes, I hate that term, but that's what we're talking about.
Right. Right.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you're straight. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, but and when you actually do an investigation, you will find that in many cases these people are conservative around certain things, especially around queer issues.
Mm.
And in many cases, they're conservative around queer issues because they do not understand. Like I've had these types of conversations with my coworkers. They're like, Chris, I literally don't understand. Like, what do all these letters mean? Like, what is a queer person? What is the difference between a transgender person and a transvestite? So instead of like trying to cancel them or instead of calling them ignorant, like you have to take the time to explain to people, like, okay, a transvestite is one who dresses in clothing that is historically seen as pertaining to the opposite gender, right?
Mm-hmm.
A transgender person is someone who identifies as the opposite gender that they were born as. And yes, it is a minefield, but like when you like treat people like dirt because they're not, now if somebody's being intentionally malicious, like if somebody's intentionally misgendering somebody, that's ignorant. But if somebody genuinely doesn't know, like one of my coworkers is a 67-year-old man. Like this guy, he thinks that being gay means any dude that wears a dress. So I found that like when you take the time to explain to people all of these terms, because like when he was growing up, he don't know no better.
Right.
And we can't just write off like this guy could be my grandpa. Like we can't just write off our elders because they don't know no better. And in many cases, like they don't know.
Right.
And once they do know, then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, this for buddy of mine, he's transgender," and they understand that. So we have to be keen on taking the good ideas from the masses while also educating them on things they don't know about. Same thing, because a lot of immigrants are like that. Like they don't understand. For one, many of them don't speak good English, and then for two, like they come from very conservative parts of the world.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you though is when we talk about the working class and we talk about a lot of people in the working class, they may not view what's the transaction with their labor as exploitative, right? And so they might not even understand the need for a working class politic.
Mm.
So if you can explain to people who may be, I guess, just entering in this space of why, uh, uh, of how of how workers are exploited on a daily basis in this country.
Sure. So you go to work, right? Say you were at McDonald's, Burger King, right? They pay you minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How much does the CEO of Burger King make? How much does the CEO of McDonald's make? And can you honestly say that you, who goes home smelling like grease with burns all over you every day, can you honestly say that the CEO of McDonald's and Burger King works harder than you?
Hmm.
So there's a certain amount of labor time, right? That's required to sustain you. Okay. But you produce more than is required to sustain you and your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's called surplus value. That's the basic term. Surplus value is what they take from you and give to the CEO, give to the
Hmm.
boss, give to the district manager, give to all these people who don't do shit. So you produce $300 worth of goods, but they only give you $15.
Hmm.
So what happened to the rest of your money? What happened
Right.
to the rest of your shit? It went into the pockets of people who don't do anything. Why? Because they own the company. They own shares in the company. That's fucked up. Like that's the basic contradiction. You are producing much, much, much more than you get.
Right.
There's no reason why you, who produces $300 worth of shit an hour, there's no reason why you should be struggling to pay your rent.
Mm.
There's no reason why you should be going to a fucking agency to pay your light bill. There's no reason why such a thing as a light bill should exist in the fucking first place.
Right.
I mean, electricity costs how much to produce? 6 cents?
Something like that.
But you got to pay $300 a month.
Right.
There's no reason why there should be such a thing as a water bill or a gas bill or lunch debt or student loan debt.
Mm.
All of this shit should be free. That's the principle. Like that's basically all that communists want. People think that communists want to take away your guns, or we want to force you to marry a man if you're straight, or we want to force you to wear the same clothes every day. Like no, honestly, on all of these various questions, I'm a libertarian. Okay, if you want to smoke weed, if you want to shoot heroin, if you want to do all this stuff, I would highly advise you not to shoot heroin. But if you want to take that stuff, that's on you. You're a grown ass person.
Right.
Honestly, I'm not going to force you to take it. I'm not going to force you not to take it. As long as you don't be a menace to society while shooting your hair on, I don't care.
Right. Right. But before, all right. So let's hold that thought though, because as you know, the capitalist argument is always, well, the CEO owns the company. He's the one that
The CEO actually doesn't own the company.
well, the share. Go ahead.
The shareholders,
Yeah.
the shareholders in a publicly traded company own the company, but the CEO probably does have a shitload of stock in the company.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, he's basically a highly paid executive.
And so that they always say, yeah, what okay. So they always talk about ownership and how the people that at the top that make the most money, they quote unquote deserve this because and in some cases, you know, it was their money that they say that funded the corporation in the first place. So why shouldn't they make all of this money? If you can, go ahead and dispel that.
No, so you're saying that DuPont, the people who founded DuPont Chemical, they're still around. Like
Right.
you're basically saying the current day CEO of McDonald's, who has no relationship whatsoever to Ray Kroc, the guy who actually did found McDonald's. Like, no, that's
Right.
bullshit. Most of these people go to Wharton or Harvard or Yale Business School and School of Management, and they graduated and they work their way up through the so-called corporate ladder by fucking over people and firing people, and now they end up being a CEO. That's how they get to be a CEO. They kiss enough ass, they traded in enough favors, they've gotten enough people drunk off martinis and small little whole cuisine dishes, and now they think that they've earned the rank of CEO. No. Modern day business management is basically ass kissing and also automating the fuck out of everything. These people have honestly, I think that you could take a person that works as a fry cook at McDonald's up the street from me. I honestly think that you could take that person and train them, and within a month, they would be able to do the exact same thing that the CEO does.
Facts.
All these people do is play on computers and play on phones and attend Zoom meetings.
Yep. Yep. You know, it's funny because even places I've worked, there have been CEOs like that who spend their whole week golfing, and if something important comes through the line, they'll have the people below him do that, and then whenever they're done, he'll take that work, take credit for that work, and keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
the higher you get up in a company, the less the work intensifies, the less work you got to do.
Right.
You can literally, the more money you make in a company, the less work you got to do. You've got look at the average org chart. You've got deputy this, you've got deputy that, you've got vice president of this, you've got vice president of that. Those are the people who do most of the stuff that the guys up above take credit for. And right. they let them take credit for it because they want their positions one day.
Yep.
So when OG, when the CEO retires, they're hoping that he picks one of them to they're hoping that the shareholders rather pick one of them to take his place.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, take credit for my work. Just know that I did it, and hopefully, when it's time to elect the new CEO, you look favorably upon me.
Right.
So it's basically just an endless circle of taking credit for everybody else's work
And
and hoping that one day the corporate gods smile upon you. It's a very, very horrible way to live your life.
absolutely. And last thing I read was in, I believe, 2022, it was estimated that CEOs earn 344 times the
Mm-hmm.
annual average of production of, salary of production and non-supervisory workers. And it was like 344 times. And there a time in the 60s where that gap was not what it is now, and then it just exploded. Like what kind of led to that?
You had well, for one, you had Reagan who deregulated a lot of shit.
Hmm.
Like in the 50s and 60s, they taxed the shit out of you.
Right.
They taxed the shit out of you.
Right.
Like that's how we were able to build all those fucking highways and all these other infrastructure projects. So a lot of that shit goes back to Reagan. Reagan deregulated a lot of shit, and he basically let loose the hounds of corporate misgovernance.
Mm.
That's what happened. Also, I see Wallace Terry's book on the bookshelf behind you, Blood.
Hmm.
One of my favorite books, actually. I highly recommend it to anybody that's like interested in wars as fought through the eyes of those who were on the ground.
Right. Right. When and so whenever we look at this the plight of the working class, and you see that there at one time, there was a big push to raise minimum wage, and now a lot of those companies have scaled back because of that. And what are your thoughts whenever they say? I mean, I already know what they are, but I want you to kind of just lay it out there for the audience. Whenever people say, you know, these jobs are menial. They don't. You shouldn't have you shouldn't be able to, pay your rent and live, working at McDonald's. But at the same time, during the pandemic, these were the what was the term that they used? Essential.
Essential workers.
Yeah, these were the
Yeah, and
essential
see,
workers, right?
yeah, and see, that's the thing. Like 40, 50 years from now, like when Zoomers and millennials my age, I'm 29, are like dropping dead at the age of 65, like it's going to be because of COVID. Because
Mm,
our generation, like
mm,
we're the ones who had to work at Starbucks. We're the ones who had to work at fucking Dollar Tree. We're the ones who basically had to keep the shit going.
right.
So this is definitely the defining crisis of my generation.
Mm,
Um, and one thing about capitalism, Sakai said this, like it's settlers, the people who run this country, they don't care about anybody but themselves.
right.
Individualism, like you want to sum up the political ideology of settlers, it's individualism.
Hmm.
That's a major reason why communism really hasn't taken off amongst these people because they're individualists.
Right.
They don't see Palestinians as human beings. They don't even see each other as human beings.
Right.
They see each other as dongles to take advantage of and climb on top of.
Hmm.
So of course they're going to say, "Oh, you shouldn't be able to make a living working at McDonald's," because they think that the average person that works at McDonald's is a 16-year-old ditzy airheaded kid.
Mm,
Like you 16-year-old airheaded ditzy kids not deserve a living.
mm,
Like
right. Right.
I mean, you have to also keep in mind that these are the same types of people who had slaves.
Right.
Like they thought, oh well, our doc so happy, but they don't need no. Why would they want to get paid? They're so happy. I mean, look at old Uncle Ben here. He's so happy. Ain't you happy, Uncle Ben? And when they get old, we take care of them. They have big children, and they're so happy.
I've bro, I've watched a little Vice thing on YouTube, and it was about sharecropping, in the South, and that is literally how the white dude sounded whenever he talked about how the sharecropping system that his fathers and grandfathers had. That is literally
Yeah,
what he was saying.
yeah, they thought that we were happy.
Right.
I mean, never mind the fact that we spend literally every waking hour of every day thinking about how to cut their fucking throat.
right,
But
right,
I
right.
digress. So the average person that works at McDonald's is probably a 35-year-old Latino single mother of kids.
Mm,
But again, they don't see these people as human. They see them as robots that cook their food and give it to them.
right.
And the funny thing is, like, if you're rich, you're not eating at fucking McDonald's anyway.
Right, 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 right.
Like you literally have a private chef to make you a fucking hamburger if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But like it, but these petty bourgeois white people, they think that they're rich. They
Mm,
align themselves. Their class aspiration is to rise and be amongst the ranks of people that have private chefs.
right.
So they have resentment of anybody else who wants a better way of life
Mm-hmm.
because they think that communists like myself are fucking up their chances to get rich.
Right, right, right,
And that's
right.
again, like I said earlier, that's a very very fucked up way to live your life. You're not going to be rich. You're never going to be Bill Gates. You're never going to be Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to basically die 70 years old of an enlarged liver because you drank yourself to death, and you're not going to leave anything for your kids to inherit but debt.
Right.
And that's another thing. What the petty bourgeois is deeply indebted. That like they have student loan debt starting off in life. They got mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
If they're lucky, they may pay their mortgage off when they're like 80 and infirm.
Right.
They've got car note. They've got their kids' student loan debt.
Mm-hmm.
They've got all types. They've got credit cards out the ass.
Mm-hmm.
They've got personal loans. They've got like there's so many ways to fucking sell your ass in America. It's ridiculous. People make fun. People say that sex workers sell their ass. No, no. Like, America is the fucking capital of debt.
Right.
There's so many ways. Shit, honestly, I'm surprised that you can't sell yourself into slavery in this country.
Right. It might be next, bro. It might be
It
next.
might, yeah, it might be, or they can allow you. Like some libertarians want them. I think that that dude in Argentina, Javier Milei, I think he allows you to sell your organs now.
Damn.
Yeah, you want to buy a Bugatti, just sell one of your kidneys. And that's fucking sick, bro. It's fucking sick. Like that, yeah, okay. I want this thing. I want this material thing. I want this material thing so bad. Just hack off a fucking piece of me. Here, take one of my fingers.
And so, but I'm glad you mentioned that. And so, like, whenever we think about the working class and the exploitation of the working class, and then you think about the rich and how America glamorizes indulgence and overindulgence and having the biggest house, the most blood diamonds, the fastest car, the most expensive. Like, is it a thing to where these images are pushed purposefully to make that the aspirations of working class people that will really never have that and
Yeah,
to stay consumers?
yeah.
Mm.
That's the motto of America: consume. Uh, H. Rap Brown, Imam Alamin talks about this in his book. He like mentions that people were so fucking stressed out in the ghetto because you turn on TV, all you see is the fucking Brady Bunch,
Mm-hmm.
Leave It to Beaver, this type of shit. You know you'll never get to live like that.
Right.
You know your pops works his ass off. He ain't gonna never be able to buy you a split level out in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
And you get mad. That's why people is out here robbing and killing and stuff because they want this stuff so bad. They want the stuff that they see on. And now it's even worse because you got Instagram influencers. They
Yeah.
don't know that these people are literally paid. Like they don't own none of this shit that they're flossing.
Right.
They borrow this shit or they rent this shit. Like that dude on Instagram that don't have no fucking job. He don't own that Bugatti.
Right.
He went
Right.
to the fucking dealership and leased that thing for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't own none of this stuff. They're selling you a fake lifestyle.
Mm.
Like all these bags that Louis Vuitton and shit. For one, that shit ain't real.
Right.
And then like, no. So you got all these kids, they want to be Instagram influencers, or they see this shit on TikTok. They see these people in these beautiful rented mansions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fake bill of goods. Like these people don't own any of this stuff.
Right.
Shit,
Right.
best is that their parents might,
Hmm.
but no, it's a facade. Just like back in the day, those commercials, those billboards, those ads, it's a facade. So when you embrace working class politics, you're embracing something that's real. The
Hmm.
working class is real.
Right.
Socialism is real. Socialism offers real benefits for you instead of chasing the ephemeral benefits of shit that you see on Instagram. You go and you spend your last 5 paychecks on a Louis Vuitton bag that you're going to be sick of in a month. Like, why would you do that?
Right, right. And so here's what I want you to do, because I think it's also great to have historical context. And a lot of our people don't understand um, Black people, especially's involvement in America, as communists, socialists, and Marxists throughout our liberation struggles. If you can, because a lot of times when our movements and our freedom fighters are repackaged and sold back to us, it's without some of those radical politics involved. It's
Or
without,
any
yeah, or any. It's without the socialist, the communist ideas. It's kind of the same way the West does with Rumi poetry. They take the word Allah out of it. They take the word Islam out of the poetry, and they sell you a watered down version of Rumi that's more palatable, palatable for Western people in that, especially Islamophobic people, all of that, whatever. So whenever they sell us back our freedom fighters, and they sell us back, and they remove the leftist politics from them. If you can just give the audience an idea of Black leftists in America and the movements and things that we did.
but probably the biggest one that everybody gets wrong, especially the United States government, because I don't even think they could get wrong right. But um, the biggest one is the Black Panther Party.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you ask the average Black youth, like maybe 15, 16, 17 years old, who was the Black Panther Party, they'll tell you that they were a gang. They'll tell you that they were people that handed out food for kids or something. Or
Mm-hmm.
they'll tell you that they were a bunch of people who got killed because they had guns.
Right.
So the Black Panther Party for Self Defense was probably not just the best Black leftist organization, not just the best Black communist organization, but the best revolutionary organization in this country ever.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I say that? Because they actually appealed
Mm-hmm.
to the masses of people that various other left wing groups of that time period and before and since have not been able to appeal to. They appealed to what we call the lumpen proletariat. And the definition of the lumpen proletariat, break it back to the German, lumpen means broken. Proletariat means working class. I think proletariat is a French term, regardless. Though it means broken proletariat. Panthers would call them the brothers on the block.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at my own organization, DSA. Is DSA organizing the brothers on the block? No, DSA is organizing white hipsters. Do I love my white hipster buddies and comrades? Yes, I do. But do I think that they are very effective organizers of Black people? No, I do not. But the Black Panther Party was successful because they were able to capture a substantial portion of this group. Now, there were problems with organizing this group, though, because in many cases they were radically underdisciplined
Mm-hmm.
and you had a lot of stupid shit that was going on. But at the same time, Huey P. Newton accurately and correctly predicted that a substantial portion of the proletariat of his day in 1971-72 would end up being lumpenized because you had automation coming.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you have 50 dudes to do a job that can be done by one robot and a guy standing behind a computer screen?
Yep. He
So,
intercommunalism is definitely something you guys need to study, but go ahead.
yeah. And I definitely have issues with it, namely the fact that he thought that nations weren't going extinct, were going extinct. Like, my critique is basically the same as Assad's, but regardless, I still respect it because it's an original theory.
Right.
Yeah. In many cases, it was correct. He also predicted the fall of the Soviet Union.
Mm.
But so yeah, that's probably the biggest error that a lot of people make. They think that the Black Panther Party was a gang. They think that it was just a bunch of vague radicals with guns, or they think that it was just a charity group. No, it was the most advanced organization of any people in this country's history.
Absolutely.
And I highly recommend that listeners read any Panther biography they can get their hands on. And I also recommend that you read Black Against Empire by Bloom and
Absolutely.
Waldo. So, yeah, educate yourself on the Black Panther Party. Now, my position on people who want to try to like recreate the Black Panther Party
Yeah.
is that in many cases they're making the only like I don't want to call them a Panther knockoff, but the only Black Panther style formation I think is worthy of time. It's the Revolutionary Intercommunal Black Panther Party. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the works of Brother Rashid. Um, but I say that because they actually study the ideology and they claim revolutionary intercommunalism. A
Mm.
lot of these other groups, like the New Black Panther Party, all these various groups, these are just people that are obsessed with guns. And in many cases, these groups are also severely misogynistic and homophobic as well.
Mm.
There are a group of sisters called the Black Women's Self Defense League
Mm.
that actually developed out of the Huey P. Newton Gun Club in Dallas. I
Yeah.
think Vice had a documentary on them, but I look up to and I admire them a lot. They are, I think, in the spirit of the original Black Panther Party as well. But most of the rest of them are like, I mean, I think that they're harmless unless they have reactionary ideology, but I don't think that they're like that. Honestly, I would recommend that every wannabe Panther group like study Huey, study the
Yeah.
ideology seriously, deeply, before you decide that's what you're going to want to do.
Indeed. And so again, first off, again, thank you for coming through and just having a great build and great discussion. I definitely appreciate it. And so I wanted to kind of leave you with this and ask, with you being, in media, and everybody go subscribe to Black Red Guard on YouTube. The link will be in the description. But with all the things that are going on in this world and all of these different movements that are happening globally and domestically, how important is it for our people and people who are um, wanting to see things for what they are and not what they appear to be? How important is alternative media um, in today's time?
Extremely important. Like you can't get all of your information off CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Like if you watch MSNBC, all you see is Rachel Maddow having a nervous breakdown about Russia. Like, these are these are not news organizations. These are propaganda organizations. Their job is to put out the line that their owners and the American government want them to do.
Mm.
So definitely get into alternative media. And honestly, like it's easy to do now because like you have a lot of people on Twitch,
Hmm.
on YouTube who talk
Hmm.
about politics.
Hmm.
Like talk about politics in a really of course you have like various levels of people who talk about various levels of things. Like you have Hassan Piker who talks about like different stuff from a introductory perspective. Then you've got the deprogram guys who talk about shit from a hard left perspective.
Right.
So there's a variety of people that you can learn from, and you can that will open up your horizon to a variety of shit. Now, am I saying that you should get your news solely from streamers or YouTube channels? No. Like you should also read the news.
Right.
You should even also watch the news, but you should watch the news with an understanding of like where these people are coming from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to be able to the best skill that a communist can develop, I think, is the ability to think critically.
Hmm.
Because a lot of us, even a lot of communists, do not think critically. We want people to feed us information. Like they're like, oh, I want to go see what Black Red Guard says. I want to go see what Rakim Shabazz has to say. And then they take what we say and then they don't investigate any further. That's
Right.
why I encourage don't just listen to people like me or you or any of these other people on the internet. Read books, read articles. You want to know what Mao Zedong thought about a question, or Lenin, or Malcolm, or Claudia Jones, or Asada? There's many, many, many books available.
Right.
And there's no excuse now because you've got Marxist.org, you've got all types of things. You've got from Marx to Mao. There's so many resources available that you can study and learn from on the internet. It's not like back in the day where you actually had to get this shit in print from the local leftist bookstore.
Right.
Like you can actually get this shit on the internet now, and
Yep.
in your free time, you can study theory.
Right. 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 Nah, that's real. That's real. Again, Black Red Guard, man. I appreciate you for coming through. I definitely want to have you back sometime. This was fun, man. And again, thank you for coming through, brother.
No problem. All power to the people.
All power to the people, my brother. Peace.
Peace.